All right, we're back for another episode, and we have a special guest making his second appearance on the show, Robert Degle. You were a big hit on the last one.
Oh,
so many. I think it's one of our most viewed episodes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
like by far, I think. So it was a big hit. You have a very loyal fan base.
I'm glad to hear
it. Seems like it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
like
yeah.
You're pretty active on social media. Most of your stuff is positive.
Yeah.
Your
I mean, I try
interactions?
to be. Yeah. I mean, if it's negative, it's usually negative about something that I either like have a strong opinion on or maybe like about myself.
Yeah, do you
Right.
get on internet? Do you get a lot of haters?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. I mean, I just
Oh.
what I've learned is the best bet is to just ignore it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, even you guys ask me about it now, like, let's move on because like I think just talking about it at all or engaging with it at all is like a mistake.
I just think it's
love
interesting.
that. You need to teach Kyle. Kyle gets a little like.
No, but we have now that we're starting to get some traction with some of our videos. We have so many people just telling me constantly how stupid I am and how I don't know anything.
I'm used to it because I feel like everyone for all the years of like fighting, so many like people. I'm used to people telling me they hope I get knocked out or
How terrible you are.
how annoying and how terrible I am. So I'm used to it. But sometimes Kyle's like, all these people think I'm a clown. I'm like, they're all the people that say that are the people that have no profile picture.
Yeah.
You know.
But
I
yeah,
love
you
it.
seem
I
like,
like getting
people
people
were
riled up.
really they like your episode. So it's really good
That's
to have
good.
you back. We'll get into some stuff.
Mm.
But you have a little bit of fight news you want to lead off with?
Yeah, last week I was super excited because I announced that I'm fighting in Paris. And now I'm not fighting in Paris. I went like the whole week like looking up different like croissant places. I was so pumped to go to Paris and do all the
But
touristy
tell
Paris
them
stuff.
it's not all bad news.
No, now it's just the opponent got hurt and they pushed it back to October 22nd.
6 weeks.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. Well, now it's like 13 weeks away.
No, but it's 6. She asked for a 6-week
Yeah.
extension.
Which was funny because in the beginning when they asked me to fight her, I was like, I had an injury and I was like, yeah, I want the fight. I was like, do you think we could do it in like October, November? They were like, absolutely not. All right, we'll get a replacement. And then they put Andrade. And then Andrade got hurt. They asked me to do it. I still have the injury, but I'm like, whatever, I'll just do it. And then they're like, 1 week later, they're like, she got hurt. We're going to push it back to October. I was like, gee, thanks, guys. Like, the cater like to her, he's got like 4 UFC fights and I have
Right.
like 15 or 16 UFC fights. I'm ranked number 1 and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, if you're hurt, you can just fight 2023.
It's just so interesting how other countries are so supportive of their athletes. Like you just got back from London,
Mhm.
but the UFC was just there. Did you watch that card at all?
I watched the Patty Pimblett fight.
Like Patty Pimblett and Molly McCann, like they're like world-renowned celebrities now.
Mhm.
Like kind of like the Conor McGregor, like frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
They're like world-known celebrities.
It's so wild.
And they
Like,
have 2 fights in the UFC. Patty has 3 fights in the UFC, and Molly has maybe 5.
yeah, like 4 or 5. She
She's
was
like
like,
3 and 3.
Yeah.
So 6, I guess.
yeah, it's just
It's pretty
crazy.
incredible.
Cause like, she like, I don't know, she's in my division and I'm like, she's like, obviously I like it that people blow up because it just brings more
Mhm.
attention to the sport. I like it. Like, other girls in my division are like, what the fuck? Like, this girl sucks. And like, why is she blowing up and no one else is? Like, she's like I'm not saying she sucks, but like the level she's at is very, very low.
Right.
No,
No, she definitely doesn't suck, and she's exciting
anyone in the
and
UFC
powerful.
is good. But the thing is, to me, I'm like, well, I think it's good if they're giving her all this attention and common fans like, oh, that girl's really good. And I'm like, yeah. Well, if you think she's good, then you have to then let me explain it to you where I am in that position and how
Right.
like there's levels to it. So if someone is getting at the bottom of the division is getting a lot of attention and people think they're really good, I think it draws more attention and then they can kind of understand.
It does, but isn't it ironic that you'd think like, well, if I fight that person, then I'll get all their fans and
No.
notoriety. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, not
Like,
at all.
Why is that, you think?
Well, because like it's not like
They don't.
you're not like robbing them.
It's
right?
not like taking what they have.
Yeah.
Right.
This is like I think some people think of it that way, but it doesn't really work that way because like the reason why somebody likes an athlete may not even just be correlated to like how good they are.
I don't think
Mhm.
it does. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
It has something to do with like a combination of things. Like so, for instance, if you're really really good at something that people like, right? So for instance, like a good example of this is Imanari back in the day, right? He was never like an elite grappler in terms of like he never did ADCC, he never won IBJJF tournaments, but he had really good leg locks, which is something back then
Flashy.
well, flashy, but he was definitely very technical. It's not like he's doing stuff which is like gimmicky, right? It's just that like that's what he was good at, right? And he never really proved himself in the larger grappling world in terms of like elite competition. But because he was so good at that one thing, which
He got respect.
he got respect, especially because not a lot of other people at the time did it, right? So he's turned into this like he's a way more legendary figure. Like for instance, if I compare Imanari to Leo Vieira, right, who is undeniably much more accomplished than Imanari, right, from about the same era, or Hani Yahya. Hani Yahya is super accomplished in MMA. He's been super successful.
He still fights, right?
He still fights. And like he won ADCC when he was like 19, right?
Yeah.
Much more successful in elite grappling than Imanari.
But nobody knows who that.
Nobody knows who he is, right? I said
is.
his name. People are gonna have to Google him, right? But everybody,
I knew it right away.
Yeah, but but everybody knows Imanari. He's like super famous.
And there's something to do with like Japan back then was really supportive of their fighters and stuff, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so you brought up earlier that like other countries are more supportive of their fighters than maybe like America is.
For sure.
But in Brazil, you'd think, well, what that's another country, but Brazil has tons of fighters, so it's hard to can't blow up really because based on Brazilian fans. Where like England, they have 2.
Yeah.
But I think Brazil, they're still pretty like if they're watching fights and it's a Brazilian versus anyone else from a different country, they don't know them. They're like, let's go. They're Brazilian. Whereas like people aren't like, they could be from the same town and this like you could be from
people
like
from Long Island aren't necessarily all about you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or they could be like from Quakertown, Pennsylvania, where I went to high school, grew up, and they're not like, oh wow, she's from the small town. Like I'm gonna cheer for her.
It's
like,
probably the opposite. We're like, she's so cocky.
Yeah. People get like more bitter in America, I think, or they're like jealous. They're not as supportive.
Did you watch Paul Craig's fight at all?
No, but
do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's really good at triangles, right?
Like he is a real like he's like a throwback fighter. Like he's got some really big wins over really good guys, but he basically like pulls guard and takes a beating and then throws up a triangle and finishes. Like this whole fight, he kept trying to pull guard and he would shoot to the legs and fall to his back and like get in leg lock.
He got like a few bites on
he did.
the legs and stuff.
But I always wonder, like, he's definitely a very good jiu-jitsu guy, and he uses almost like predominantly jiu-jitsu to win. Like, but he's not like elite like Gordon Ryan. Like, what would Gordon be able to do that in fighting? Because if he's basically just pulling guard and triangling people, that's just he's jiu-jitsu, right?
Although in the fight though, his striking wasn't that bad. He landed like
bad.
I was thinking, I'm like, does he not have any confidence in striking? Because the striking like actually looked pretty good. I don't know if the other guy wasn't expecting it or what, but I don't know. I think
has there ever been like I guess Hodger Dracy did fight MMA.
Yeah, but he never won like a UFC or Pride title or anything like that.
To even be able and Paul Craig always does like triangles and stuff off his back.
Yeah.
To be able to do that in a guy's division, even if you're really good at it, you have to be like most people in MMA are pretty good at defending stuff from guard.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
like the fact that he does that, I'm like,
top 10 guys.
Yeah. It was funny.
Off his back in a close guard.
He lost, and then I put on my Instagram story, like it was like a little clip of him going for a heel hook, and I went, I'm still a big Paul Craig girl. A lot of people that I know that are friends with were like, oh, how could you say that? That was the worst fight I've ever seen. It was so boring. Like, how could he do that? I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Like,
it's just cool
maybe
that still exists. Like, it's still a thing that, like, you could just be, like, good at jiu-jitsu and have a chance to win fights at a high level.
Because to me,
you're not going to win the UFC championship, but
right.
The fact that you could win some fights is pretty crazy, and he's won a lot of fights.
Because to me, what's the difference between that and like Derek Lewis, who doesn't do anything and just holds his hands up, and then at the last like second,
well, people would rather see a knockout than a submission.
Yeah, but I'm saying like they were like that was ridiculous. Even like pro like UFC fighters were messaging me like that's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, but don't you think it's kind of like I wouldn't do it, and it is kind of stupid, but like I don't know. The whole time I was like, maybe he will get a submission. Like he still got in and like. the fact that he's on his back and the other guy just automatically is like so scared to stay on top and punch him. I'm like, you're on top. You're in a good position. Someone that high of a level is so scared to stay on top. I think that's kind of impressive.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know?
Yeah, you should get almost credit for that.
Yeah, because you're not engaging because you're in a dominant position and not engaging.
Yeah, I think it's cool because that's like a dying off thing. There's not going to be a ton of that. I don't think.
Maybe. Do you guys remember Paul Sass years ago?
No.
He was like, I'm telling you, look this guy up. He was the king of this type of MMA. He got to a point where he was 4-0 in the UFC. The only thing this guy did was pull guard, lock up triangles, and heel hooks. Like, this is the only thing he did.
And this was what years though?
This was like his last fight was maybe like 7 years ago, something like
2013 or 15.
Yeah, roughly.
Oh, that's the modern era.
Yeah,
that's pretty I thought you were gonna say 2005.
No, it was. I mean, it was recent enough that like it was super notable to me.
Yeah,
and he at that point he was undefeated overall in MMA. I think he was like 14-0, and he was on the cusp of getting a UFC title shot. Literally,
what weight class was it?
Lightweight. So literally just pulling guard and just triangling.
Then people started figuring him out.
Yeah, and then after that, he lost 2 subsequent fights. He got cut, and then he went. Yeah, he had 1 fight in Bellator, and then he retired.
How good of jiu-jitsu guy was he?
He was a purple belt when he was doing this.
Oh.
I mean, obviously, he was psychotically good at like that
specific.
Yeah, like his triangle was ridiculous, and his heel hooks, like by modern standards, they weren't very good, but it was enough to like tap MMA guys out.
I was gonna say you don't have to be that good to do it in MMA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like
especially back then.
I feel like mine aren't good, but when I spar MMA people or do MMA, I'm like, oh, I'm almost like embarrassed. I'm like, oh, okay, you don't know like the technique and you're scared of it and you tap. Like people tap. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm doing it right.
Yeah, he got a heel hook on Michael Johnson, and like he should not have tapped. If Michael Johnson knew how to get out of it.
I remember that, I think.
It wouldn't have been super hard to get out of it. But I mean, it's a good thing he did tap because he didn't know how to get out of it, right? So
prevented maybe longer injuries, but maybe he could have got out of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, that Paul Craig, then Patty, his grappling is like crazy that he's that good at grappling from England.
Yeah.
Like his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I was pretty impressed. It was really good on the back. Did you think?
I know the guy he fought was supposed to be a grappler.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, this guy's good at jiu-jitsu.
Well, I gotta say, since I spent the last 3 months in London, the guys there would get mad at me if I didn't defend the jiu-jitsu in England.
Was it pretty good? Well, I mean, there's good guys.
The jiu-jitsu
has a school there, right?
Yeah, but the jiu-jitsu is very good. Maybe the wrestling isn't, but the jiu-jitsu is very good.
Yeah.
I think that they're definitely one of the best European countries. I think most of the trials winners came from like UK countries, like either Wales or England, and like they're solid, man. Like I think maybe I'm thinking just wrestling because when you hear someone from England, I'm always like, well, they're not gonna have any takedown defense, they're not gonna be able to wrestle, but maybe it's obviously
because most fighters from there are more strikers. Yeah,
you think of Michael Bisping, Darren Till.
But that just might be where the MMA fighters come from, that background rather than jiu-jitsu background.
But the grappling is pretty good over there.
Yeah.
Were you teaching somewhere or what were you doing?
I taught a seminar in England, but like I was mainly just there training, and I was doing seminars in other European countries. I was at a gym called London Grapple, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. I was super happy there.
People were like into like competitive training, you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the main guys of the gym, his name is Ross Nichols. He's won trials before.
Oh, okay.
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah, he didn't win this time, but he got a bronze medal at the last European trial. So yeah, very competitive, and like the whole gym is definitely very competition oriented.
Oh, that's good.
Owen O'Flanagan, who just won trials at 88 kg in Europe, he comes there to train a lot.
Nice.
Like so very, very, very competition oriented.
Because that's tough to find sometimes. Like you might be like, oh, this gym, there's people are good, they're into training and stuff, but they're not, if they're not like in the competition mindset, sometimes I find it hard to like train with people. Because there's some people I train with that I'm like, oh, they're really good, but like sometimes I'm like, it's awkward when we go live. I'm like, they're not like going hard enough. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, oh, there to have a good time. And I'm like, no, can we go like a little harder? Like, because we could both get a lot better. So sometimes it's hard to find that.
It was kind of like I want to talk to you like that post you made the other day about getting good and then focusing on getting good at the right things. Like there's some things So go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll start off by like sort of bouncing off what you said. So like, yeah, I mean, if you want to be a good competitor, one of the things that's really important is that you find a competition oriented gym. And the trick is like that doesn't even mean necessarily that the gym has already produced like high level guys, right? It doesn't have to have already done that, but it has to be a place where people are trying to do that, right?
It can't be like today we're doing triangles and tomorrow we're doing kimuras and like just that's more like just a class like going through the system. For
sure, yeah. What somebody who's trying to become an elite athlete needs is not the same thing as what like a hobbyist may be entertained by, right? So like I was talking to a friend of mine about this recently. Like jiu-jitsu is weird in the combat sports world in the sense that if you are a wrestler or you're a boxer, right? How often do you like learn new techniques, right? You do learn new techniques.
Not very often.
Yeah, but it's most of your time is spent in developing skills, right? Whereas in jiu-jitsu, like the ratio between learning techniques and converting those techniques into skills, right? That should be where most of your attention is. But in jiu-jitsu, it's more like people get into this mode of like collecting techniques, like they're trading cards, right? Like, oh, what's the new Instagram reel technique of the day, right?
You know, what they go rehearse today. It's different every time.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Whereas, like, really, the best way to do it is to think about not even just to think about techniques, but to think about like skill areas, right? Like, and you break down skill areas, and then within those skill areas, there's obviously like techniques, right? What you'd call like a technique, but like. Most of the focus should be on, okay, like this might be boring to people, but like you spend 3 months working, not like a single movement, but a skill area, right? It could be like takedown defense, right? Let's say that that's something you feel like you are not doing very well in, right? So you spend 3 months, you do other things, obviously, because it's impossible to only work takedown defense, right? But like, well, I guess you could if you did like positional stuff, but that would be really boring and not very smart because you still need to work other things. But like, like that, you know, when you like, even when I wrestled in high school, like obviously my high school wrestling team was not super elite, right? My coach was a social studies teacher,
right?
Like, so like, you know, not elite training, but even then, most of the focus was on skill acquisition instead of like what I call technique collection. Yeah. And so like, so this segues into like the topic of my post. So I made a post just about like, you know, the idea of like anyone can get good at anything if they spend enough time doing it, right? Like if I spent 10 years developing a game where I wrist locked people when they had my back, I would probably get as good as you could possibly get at that.
You'd hit people in practice all the time. Like, oh, he gets me with that.
Yeah. But the question is that the right thing to be working on? And that question is always very like relative, right? Is that the right thing to be working on relative to what, right?
Your goals, probably.
Yeah, so you have to have a specific goal. So people like talk all the time about like high level jiu-jitsu. When people say that, like the first thing I usually think to myself is what do you mean specifically? Like are you talking about? Usually people, I think nowadays they mean ADCC and now IBJJF, right? I think it's kind of like centered and coalesced around that now. So I think it's a little easier to know what somebody means. But like, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago, you could have an argument like what's more important, EBI or ADCC? I don't know. It's just relative to what you want to do, you know?
Well, that's the problem with jiu-jitsu, I think now, that there isn't one set of rules. There should be. Like whenever people say, well, the ADCCs is the Olympics of our sport. Well, no, it's not, because it only happens once every 2 years.
But you can do, but
throughout the year, there needs to be like Grand Prix in wrestling. That's what it would be called. But of the same, like the Polish Grand Prix, but ADCC rules. Are there things like that?
There are.
Oh, there are.
The thing is, they're almost exclusively in Europe and sometimes in Asia.
Okay, not in the United States.
No, they're happening all the time in Europe. They happen super frequently. So like if you look at adcombat.com/events, I check this page like every other fucking day.
Okay.
Yeah, like you'll constantly see the new ADCC events. And these are ADCC official events with ADCC rules.
Well, it's kind of weird that you would think the Europeans would do better. They never win.
It's interesting, right? There's never been a European trials winner to win ADCC. And Europeans have won, but they weren't Europeans who won trials. So John Olavinamo, Karimula Bakarlaev, they both won ADCC, and then Mark Robinson, he's South African, not European, but it's in that region under ADCC is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So he was in that region, right? So anyway, so like those 3 guys won ADCC, but none of them were trials winners. They won before trials was even a thing. Yeah.
Like when I watch, like think ADCC, I think like the thing you have to get really good at is being able to score points when you get the person in turtle.
Yeah.
Because that is a frustrating thing for me.
Yeah.
As a wrestler, because you get there easy and then you're like, well, he's just not doing anything. I'm obviously in a better position, but you don't score any points.
No. Yeah. It's
and if you go to throw hooks and you're not skilled at that,
you're gonna fall off.
You fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do wish that there were more ADCC official events. I've been, when I was in Europe, I did 2 of them. When I'm in Asia, there's going to be one. It's ADCC Philippines. I'm going to go do that. If they announce another one while I'm there, I might do another one.
But you're going to Singapore, you said next.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know, like an hour flight. It's not bad. Flying within Asia is really cheap when you're based in Singapore. It's like a hub, so it's good like that.
Yeah.
But you were saying about your post about like knowing what to get better at.
Right, yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't know because I feel like in jiu-jitsu, they don't really have a coach. So you have to be pretty self-disciplined to like analyze yourself and see what you need to get better at. I know for like a while when I was like making the transition from jiu-jitsu to MMA, like when I trained jiu-jitsu, I was always, usually in the beginning, there wasn't that many girls. I was always in doing gi. I was like always on my back playing guard. Then like in MMA, that doesn't translate the best. I mean, unless you're like Paul Craig, but even that only to a certain level. So I was like, oh wow, if I can't submit the person, like I'm losing. So I have to learn to stay on top and the importance of that for MMA. So for like a whole year, I just focused when I trained jiu-jitsu, staying on top. And I think I got a lot better over the years, and I am way better at that. But then when I train jiu-jitsu and I'm training jiu-jitsu with real like jiu-jitsu people that are high level, I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm not that good at jiu-jitsu. I don't get as many submissions anymore. I'm like, I just feel like sometimes I'm just holding someone down and smashing them. And then I'm like, oh, I feel like I don't feel high level jiu-jitsu. I just feel like I'm like, but wait, what's my goal? My goal is MMA right now. And that's what I need to be good at. It doesn't matter if you can, before I felt like in training, I would get a lot more submissions off my back, but in MMA that didn't really translate that well. So like the goal was to focus on staying on top, and I kind of achieved that goal, and it's good. But then I'm like, there's part of me that like, I'm like, oh, I feel like I don't do anything cool in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, well, I don't need to do anything cool. I need to get on. If I'm on bottom, I need to get off from bottom. And if I get someone down, I need to be able to hold them. Yeah. Obviously submit to a certain extent.
Like with MMA people, sometimes they're like, I have to work my wrestling. I'm going to go to wrestling classes. And then you get to wrestling class and today we're doing sweep singles. Like that entire class is kind of like a waste of time. Or today we're shooting low singles. Like that's not it's a waste of time to
But people think I'm in wrestling class. I'm in wrestling class. You know, when I go
to learn specific things like real takedown defense. Someone's going to be in on your leg, and then you have to be able to defend.
Well, when I go to the wrestling, I go with the high school kids because it's like more competitive for me. And I don't go when they do technique because they're doing top bottom stuff. I'm like, that's a waste of my time to do top bottom. So I'll work technique with Kyle where it's specific for MMA, and I'm not doing sweep single, top bottom tilts and all that, but I'll do that. And then I go in and I do the live training, and the live training I just kind of do. So I kind of cater it to myself, but it's kind of tough because you don't really have a head coach like that tells you everything. So you got to be able to be smart enough to analyze your game and what you should do and be disciplined to do that.
Because you have to,
just showing up to a class
to
isn't
pick
enough.
The things that you want to train to be good at, you have to determine like, well, what's my game plan? If like for me, I think of jiu-jitsu as get a takedown, pass whatever guard they end up in, get to a secure pin, and then start looking for submissions. Like that's how I picture jiu-jitsu. Like so develop a takedown, develop a guard pass, a pin position, and then a submission from mount back. Isolating arms, isolating legs. Like That's how I think of jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
But I don't think of, but you should have stuff off your back and sweeps and
Yeah.
else. But like,
It's
those
helpful
are the
to
things
have
that I should that I would think to focus on.
Yeah, I mean it's so what you were talking about with like you could get more submissions if you just did stuff off your back. This is like a trap people fall into in training sometimes. It sounds like you did a good job like avoiding it with like, oh, but I'm getting more submissions in training and submission is the goal. It's like, yeah, but like, are you developing a skill that's going to lead to long-term sustainable competitive success? Right. Like, you know, let's like the thing I was talking about, like the wrist lock thing, right? Let's say you got like psychotically good at that wrist lock thing. And they're like, oh, but I get more. And then someone's like, well, you're not really going to win a lot of high-level tournaments like that. And you're like, oh, but I'm getting more taps in training because I keep doing this. Okay, you can stay comfortable in what you're already good at, which is not really going to help you in the long run.
Yeah.
Or you can branch out.
It's like that short, we were talking about that, you might get short-term success, but if your goal is to be like the best in the world, if your goal is just to like get a couple cool submission highlights and win at a couple Nagas, you might get that. But if your goal is like to win ADCC, it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah. And the reality is like people will, you know, fall into like what's working right now, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, I think that there's a fairly clear, like optimal game plan for like ADCC success. I mean, there's a lot of variations on it, but I think you basically described it, to be honest. The way I think about it is your main goal should be to put someone down to his hips. That could be with a sweep or with a takedown. And then once he's down on his hips, he's either going to face you and play guard, in which case your first objective is not get swept. There are guys who win ADCC by barely ever passing a guard. They'll just get on top. And then, like, I was watching Tenquinho the other day. The first time Tenquinho won ADCC, I think, the only time he won ADCC, I think 3 out of 4 of the matches he won by decision. Like, no points were scored, right?
Just take down, stay in their guard, but not get.
Yeah.
But you're on top, so you won.
Exactly, right? And he scored points in the finals. So in that one, he actually got the points. But, you know, and so, like, anyway, and then once they're on their hips, if they turn away from you, there's the back, right? You've got to be able to get the hooks in, right? And then that's the main strategy. And like there are, you know, a lot of other things that will happen, of course, right? Like, so people ask, oh, where do submissions play into that? Submissions in ADCC rules are more like they're things that happen while you're doing what I just described, right? While you're, like, for instance, leg locks. While you're in the process of putting someone down to his hips, you know, maybe to stop from doing that, he widens his legs and you are able to go through to an ashigarami and you get a heel hook or whatever, right? Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, or it could be that you've taken him down. And of course, your first goal is to not get swept, right? But obviously, if you can pass him, that's not bad for you. So you pass him, and maybe as he's trying to escape the pin, then you get his arm, and then you get the submission, right? And like, I really prefer points rule sets because, like if you think about like where submissions will come from most often, like if you look at like pure sub only, like you have very little incentive, especially in no time limit or even in EBI rules, to like ever take risks defensively, right? Like why, you know, if you're in a bottom pin, I had a sub only no time limit match years ago that went an hour and a half. And at one point the guy, I think he might've mounted me or he was at least in side control. And I was like, I'm just going to wait. Like I'm not opening up, you know? And eventually he got off and then I wound up heel hooking him. So it's like, you know, like I'm not going to like extend my arms, potentially risk.
Do you think there's ever a time or place for a no time limit match? I don't think there is.
Yeah, I mean, like, why? If it's like not a televised event.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
just a contest. If you just
me
and you go to the gym. And see who wins.
Yeah, so like,
But a televised event, there's never a time or place, no matter who it is.
Probably not. Yeah, unless, I mean, I don't know, man. If you say to me, the ADCC super fight. Let's make that's the biggest match possible, right? You have the absolute champion and the super fight champion, right? If you told me that's sub only no time limit, okay, I could be okay with that. But I don't know. That should also just be ADCC rules.
See, I don't even think that should be any longer than any match the first round of ADCC.
I think it should be the same.
It should be the same. Like I think it's weird that like a UFC title fight is 5 rounds. So it's like, you know, what is that?
Almost double.
Almost double.
Yeah.
Almost double of what a regular fight is. Why? Like what if you're only good at 3-round fights? Then you get all the way up to the.
But you lose.
You know,
I don't know.
Special.
Well,
that
then
sucks.
Then
Like,
it's weird too. If like, I mean, I don't think it like for.
I
and
think
for
they should all be 5.
And
or
for
all
me,
be 3.
I think I do better in 5-round
Yeah.
fights. So, but
Then they
still,
all be 5.
but still, like when someone's been the champ for a while and they kind of know they've had experience. Say they defended it 5 or 6, 7 times. Now they have so much experience fighting 5 rounds, and they have someone that's never done it. Now you're fighting for the world championship, and you have to do 5 rounds. It's kind of weird.
It's exactly like ADCC and ADCC finals, which have there's one rule change, but it makes a fucking gigantic difference.
What's the change?
In the finals, you have negative points and positive points. In the regular matches, if you pull guard, you're allowed to do it, but you're not allowed to do it in overtime. When overtime starts, if you pull guard, you get hit with a negative point. Whereas in the finals, if you pull guard at any point, you get hit with a negative.
That's
right?
so weird.
Yeah. So what happens sometimes is
I would say they'd probably concede the takedown and then work a sweep if that's where you want to be anyway.
So
isn't it the same thing as pulling guard?
Yeah. Well, it's not.
Don't defend
actually.
a takedown.
So it's not considered the same thing.
No, it's not considered. Of course, it's not considered. But the result is the same, right? You're choosing to be underneath someone. If someone's in on a single leg and I don't really want to...
Well, you have to sit down before they touch you, right?
I'm saying, though, pulling guard and giving up the takedown, you end up in the same spot.
Functionally, it's the same. But tactically in ADCC, it's completely different. So what it turns into is... So I'll give you an example. Owen Livesey went against Luke Griffith in the finals of, I think it was the 99 kg category at the last European trials. And Owen is a significantly better wrestler. Okay. Luke wants to be seated, but he can't sit because he'll get hit with a negative. So what he did was he basically goaded Owen into taking him down, which was the dumbest thing Owen could do, right? Because he took him down when there's the first half of the match, there's no points. And if you get taken down, that's not a negative.
You
right?
stay down.
So you just stay down. Oh, I'm on my butt now. I'm allowed to play guard.
Yeah.
And then Luke eventually got his back and choked him. What Owen should have done, and this is not an exciting way to grapple, but what he should have done is he should have just done nothing, or maybe just hand fought, until the point started, and then you take him down.
Right.
Because then you got points, right?
Right.
Then you just hold him. Then you just have to not get submitted or
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
And there's much less time to be on top.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's like, so it changes the entire dynamic of the match where like, the ADCC rules are very, very specific and very strange. And if you don't understand the rule set, sometimes if you watch old matches and you don't understand the rule set, you will not be able to make sense of who won.
Understanding the rule set is a big thing because then you could gamify it.
Yeah.
You could play the rules and sneak out a way to win. Like Gordon, as you know, is one of my like very good friends. I hope that he never loses. I hope he wins 10 ADCCs, of course. But the fact that he only does no time limit, in my opinion, is silly. Because like part of the fun in sports is having the chance. No one can beat Gordon in a no time limit match. It can't be done. But if you did a 10-minute match, like ADCC rule sets 10-minute, like there's a chance that you could keep it neutral and sneak it. You know, there's
more of a chance than a
you could
sub-moment.
gamify it. You could figure out like some way to stall and.
Well, he's gonna have to do that in ADCC, right? So like,
well, the super fight, like you said, I think it's 40 minutes.
well, but he's doing brackets too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he always wins that. He always does. I'm just saying, like a sub no time limit. There's no chance he could lose.
Right.
But there's a chance, like he. You know
somebody
what I mean?
could take him down,
like a really good wrestler,
Yeah,
who had, like, good, like a Nicky Rod, but like a much better wrestler, version,
right.
You know,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's
there'd be a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think Nicky Rod's a decent wrestler.
No, he definitely
Yeah,
is.
but especially by jiu-jitsu standards.
Oh no,
right?
definitely. No,
Yeah.
I think he's good at just jiu-jitsu. Right.
Right,
I'm saying
right.
like a pure wrestler.
Right. Okay. Like an Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, like, anyway, my favorite rule set is ADCC. Actually, like, I've gone back and forth through the years. And like, I'm at a point now where I actually really like ADCC. The only thing I don't like is I do wish they got rid of the no points period. I wish there was just points the whole time.
Yeah.
I would much prefer that, because sometimes what happens is like, you'll get these really weird. So for instance, I was watching Tanquinho versus, I think it was Paulo Miao. Yeah. Tanquinho versus Paulo Miao. And the no points period, they're literally just sitting down doing the dumbest leg locks on each other. Neither of them think it's going to work. They're just waiting for points to start.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this?
Understanding rules is really important. It's kind of ties into a story that happened yesterday here.
Oh
So
my
this
God.
weekend, or this last 2 days, my parents were visiting
Mm.
from like Buffalo, New York, and yesterday was like kind of rainy day, so we didn't have much going on. And I like playing chess, and my dad always liked chess too, so I was like, "You want to play chess? Something to do?"
And before you start, as soon as you said that, I go, okay, do you guys both know the rules? Yeah. What do you mean? Of course we
Like,
know the rules.
if
I'm
you know
like,
the
no,
rules
no.
to set, that's as universal as it
So
gets.
I go-
There's no.
And they're
Well, I play American chess, or it's not like jiu-jitsu where
There's one rule set.
the
Yeah.
Okay.
chess is one rule.
But let me
set.
finish. I go, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, what do you mean? Of course we know the rules. What are you talking about? I'm like, no. Do you guys both know the same rules? Like, are you both in agreement? And they're like, you're crazy, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, what happened?
So we started playing, and it was good. And then I made like a couple mistakes, and my dad started like fucking me up, kind of. Then we got. Do you know chess?
I mean, I know how to play it, but
Do you
not
know the
like super.
rules?
I know most of the rules. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll test you right now. So we get to the end of the game, and he had like 6 pieces on the board, and I just had one. I was down to my king.
Yeah.
He had
just the
8.
king.
I heard him screaming.
No, he
it.
didn't though. He said that. But,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
But
okay.
I had just the king. You can't win with just the king.
Right.
Right. So you could just be like, all right, I can't win, and lay it down. Like that's a thing that you'll see in
They
chess.
resign, yeah.
They resign. They like
Yeah.
say I can't win, and they lay and then shake hands, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what can you do if you only have a king and he has all the pieces?
But let me try to guess. I think I know.
Yeah.
Isn't there a rule like if you do the same thing 3 times as a draw or something like that?
If you are not in check, okay, you're not in check, but it's your turn, and the only move you have no moves that you can do because you can't move into check.
Right. Yeah.
So like if you're not in check, but it's your move, and any move you would do would put you in check. Because if you're currently in check and the same situation happens, then it's checkmate, right?
Right.
So like you're safe, but any move you made would put you in chess.
Yeah, I see.
That's a draw, a stalemate, because you're not allowed to move into chess.
Okay,
It's a
okay.
technicality.
Yeah.
My dad lost his mind, like literally lost his mind, like
Me and his mom were sitting
like,
outside.
broke down. Like
I heard when I'm like,
screaming.
well, here it goes. And I just,
I feel like I'm learning a lot about you right now. Actually.
No, but like
I see where certain personality traits come
that's
from.
the exact same person.
no,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like
Just
but
together.
then he was like, that's bullshit. He was like, you have 1 piece, I have 8. I'm like, you definitely did better than me. But the results, if we're playing chess, he was like, no, that's not how I play. Then you're playing a different game.
yeah.
You understand?
Well,
Like-
yeah.
No, like if you have 10 pieces and I have 1, but by the rules of the game, I can't, then it's a draw. It's the same as 50-50 split, right?
Right.
A
Yeah.
draw is a draw. There's win, loss, draw.
Yeah.
So he would not accept it. And I was like, but he's like, well, that I don't count that. I play it. If we have more pieces, then I'm like, then you're playing a different game.
And that's
Yeah,
why
well-
I said,
Yeah,
are
if you
guys-
understanding
guys
the
both
rules-
know the same rules. I knew this
Understanding
was
the rules is a
coming.
big part of that, because he should have been a little sharper at the end and be like, I got to make sure I get him in check. I have all these pieces, and then end the game. You have to finish the game. Like you
Yeah.
had the submission, you just couldn't finish it, and time ran out. Draw.
Yeah.
You know,
You
that's
should
what
have
happened.
just Googled like
I
this.
did.
You even showed it to him.
No, I did,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
read it, and then I read
Watched
it
a
out loud,
YouTube
and he was
video.
like, wouldn't accept it. I was like, okay, you're not understanding my words. I went to a
Yeah.
YouTube video, explain a draw in chess. It set up the pieces literally exactly like
Nice. Okay.
mine, and then he was like, nope, that's not true.
You always say he doesn't
My
like
dad,
Google.
the worst thing that ever happened to the world is Google,
Yeah.
because it used to be like you could say things like that aren't really true and no one could really call you on it. But if you tell me like anything, I could be like, well, no, that's not true. I just looked it up. Google.
Well, that's a good thing, though,
It's
right?
the best thing.
Yeah,
but for
yeah.
my dad, it's the worst
for your
thing
dad,
that
okay,
ever
okay,
happened.
okay.
I do it like how many times did I do that the last 2 days?
Google things
Yeah.
nonstop.
Because he says things like they're facts.
You're always
Right.
like that though. You love Googling things. Like
Mhm.
I'll be like, we'll watch a movie. I'm like, oh, I wonder when this movie came out. He'll be like, look it up. I'm like, I mean, I don't really care that much.
Right.
And he's
do you look things up like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very curious person.
But
I
yeah,
look up everything.
But
I'm
that's why
thinking.
you
Yeah.
know you're like smarter than me. You know more things. Like
Well,
I don't
smart,
don't know.
right.
But that's why you're really good at Jeopardy, and I can't answer one because you like remember all.
But
those
anything
facts
I'm
and-
thinking, I look it up, and then you know.
Yeah. I'm very similar. Like I'm a very curious person. Like I was talking to like a friend of mine. We were driving to training the other day, and I was going on I was talking to him about the history of like the Balkan region, like Yugoslavia, like the war in the 90s, the different ethnicities and like the conflicts and stuff. And he was like, "Why do you know this?" I was like, "I don't know. I went to Serbia when I was
Serbia,
in
Montenegro, the former Yugoslavia."
Yeah. When I was in Serbia, I was just like, let me just read about the history. Like, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
You know?
I think
So-
if you're like a history person, you tend to look that type. Of
And I just don't like facts. Like I
Mhm.
like but that knowing the rules,
Yeah.
that would have saved us a big. It really affected the day yesterday.
Yeah.
Well-
Which is why I knew. That's why today they were like, "Oh, let's play cornhole." I go, "I don't know if that's a good idea." And I was like, "Let's." Then I have to say, like, because it's his mom, like, "Why don't we do boys versus girls?" So then I want them on the same
That's
team.
smart. That's a good idea.
I'm like, no, and they're like, no, we'll do like, his parents versus us. I'm like, no, boys versus girls, because then if him and his dad are on the same team, then we'll just, if anything happens, we won't really fight it.
So I
Yeah.
put on my story that you were going to be on, and if anyone had any questions for you, and
I actually got a few that people messaged me too.
the one I got was thoughts on Montreal bagels.
I've never been to Montreal.
Oh, really? You're the
yeah.
bagel guy.
Yeah, no, I know. I would like to go to Montreal.
But they're well known for bagels.
Oh, I didn't know
I think
that.
they're more sweet or something. Like
so
they're bigger.
So some of the TriStar guys have ranted to me about them at B Team, about how good the Montreal bagels are. I can't comment because I've never had them.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm so shocked.
But someday I will. Someday I will. I've been to 19 countries, and Canada is not on that list. I've never been to Canada.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's our neighbor. Never been there.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never been in the country of Canada?
Technically, I have. I was on a layover, but I don't count that.
No.
You know, if you count that, I've been to probably like way more countries.
yeah.
But I don't count that. Right?
Oh, we went to Toronto a few years ago. I loved it, but now I
Calgary.
think Canada is kind of not so good.
Justin Trudeau. A lot of people don't like him.
I think, I don't think you have like fun going to Canada anymore.
Well, I mean, like I think the COVID stuff
I
is.
feel like they
calmed
still have
down.
curfews.
No,
no. Because they're pretty strict. They're like the strictest.
They're
Yeah, they
very
were
strict.
pretty bad with it.
Very
Yeah.
strict.
Well, but what I was gonna say is like, I've heard from the TriStar guys that the Montreal bagels are very good. I've yet to have one, but someday I would like to have one because I've heard so much about them.
Don't you agree that if someone goes to like a Long Island or a New York bagel place
Mm.
and they order a fresh bagel,
Yeah,
if they get that fresh bagel toasted,
it's ruined.
Ugh.
isn't that
Absolutely
defeating
ruined.
the
Yeah,
purpose
it's
of a
disgusting.
toasted
Peasants.
bagel?
They don't even ask you here, do you want to toast your bagel? But in other places, so when I was in
No,
Austin,
but or like when I went today, my mom's like, "Oh, I want it toasted." I'm like, no,
yeah,
it
you should never do
doesn't
that.
make sense because the whole point is
It's fresh.
the soft inside.
Yes, exactly.
The crust.
But
Yes.
if it was a day old bagel, toast it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but this is something people don't get if they're not from like this area. The only bagels that are good that I've ever had, I will say, have been in this area. Anywhere else, they just
Possibly Montreal.
possibly Montreal. Yes, that's why I said where I've been. Yeah, but like they're just not. They're like I almost don't even want to eat bagels from other places. I don't even consider them like this. They're almost so different. They're not the same thing to me.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well, it's more like bread.
Yeah.
Like bagel is not necessarily, it's not bread.
well, I guess it's a type of
It's a type of bread, but like
Yeah.
I wouldn't, it's very different.
It's very different. It's just like
Yeah.
pizza. Like for instance, like when you go, this is something that was like a mind fuck to me. When you go to other places, pizza by the slice is not the norm. Like, yeah, no, I'm telling you this now, and you're like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, sorry, that's my phone.
Oh, it's yours.
Oh, it's
I was
I
like-
know it's Zane's, I think.
No, it's yours.
Oh, is it mine? Oh, just turn it off.
I literally just
Yeah,
texted Zane.
it's-
I'm like, can you turn your
Is
phone
that
off?
no, that one's not mine. Mine is inside there.
Whose phone
Is that mine?
Mine's on. It's a Pop Tart.
Yeah, it's a pop that I brought that I just,
So what about the pizza?
all right. Anyway, yeah. Just mute it. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, there's a group chat of some of my friends. Anyway, so, okay, so when you go to other places, the pizza is like it's almost a completely different thing.
Mm.
So what we think of as standard pizza. So I, like getting pizza by the slice in other places is much rarer. Like
Yeah.
I saw it once in London, but by and large, you're not going to get pizza by the slice. They will give you like a personal pie, like
Personal pie,
like
yeah.
what you get at like Domino's or something.
Pizza
right?
Hut.
Yeah. So like when I first, so the first time
They don't have like a counter set up with 10 different pizzas.
You'll never see
and-
that. Yeah. So the first time I traveled outside of the U.S. was to the UK. I didn't at any point. I was only there for like maybe like a week. I didn't get pizza while I was there. The second time I traveled out of the U.S. was the first time I went to Singapore. So when I was there for about 2 weeks. So at one point I was like, man, I want some fucking pizza. So I went to like a pizzeria and I walked in and I said, hi, and I just wanted something basic. I was like, can I get 2 cheese slices? And he was like, we don't do that here. And I was like, what do you do? He goes, just personal pie. I was like, oh, okay, this must be like a Domino's type place. So I found another pizzeria. I traveled to this other pizzeria. I go in, I said, hey, can I get 2 cheese slices? He goes, we don't do that here. He gave me the same response. I was like, what the fuck? And I kept going. I probably went to like only one more and before I gave up. And
you realize they don't do that.
Yeah, at first I was like, this must just be some weird Singapore pizza thing. But then I realized like,
Yeah,
no, we're the outliers.
But even like in the United States though, not
exactly.
other places.
So when you go to like, you will see by the slice pizza more often in the U.S. than you will in other places. Also,
but it's not automatic.
It's not
like
automatic.
here.
No, it's much less common. And also a rule that I tell people all the time is that if you ever go somewhere that's outside of like the tri-state area and they say, you know, authentic New York pizza,
style.
you know it's gonna be dog shit. Like
Yeah.
there's no way it's gonna be good.
You're better off just being like, it's just pizza, like
Yeah.
Wisconsin pizza. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Then
But
you don't have
it's-
expectations.
Pizza and bagels are very similar in the aspect they're like, well, it's everywhere. Bagels, bagel, pizza. But like the subtle differences
It's a
make
big
it
difference.
such like
Yeah.
an enormous difference. Like that guy, the pizza review at Portnoy, like his
okay.
system. Do you ever listen to his?
No, I never
His
heard
pizza
this guy.
review is amazing.
Okay.
They're so good. But like he explains things like if it's in the 7s, he does like decimal points. You know,
Mhm.
if it's in the 7s, it's like really good pizza, like
okay.
really good pizza. If it's in the 8s, 8.1 through 8.9, it's like you'll travel to it. It's like
Right.
destination pizza.
Okay.
And if it's 9 to 10, 9 point, that's like, you know, world class,
Right.
like
Okay,
next level.
nice.
I always say like every pizza on Long Island to me is in the 7s.
yeah, at least.
It's like the one isn't bad. Like Mama's in Copeg isn't better than, you know,
Gino's and Lindenhurst.
Gino's in Lindenhurst.
Well,
Like
it
it's-
might be.
Maybe
You might
it's
have a
very about
It's-
the same.
It's very similar.
Then I
agree,
think
yeah.
it's
But then if you go to like
preference.
Sauce in the city, you ever been to Sauce?
no, never. It's really good.
Oh my God. Or Sally's a pizza in New Haven, Connecticut. Those are like 9s.
We're
Like,
level elite level.
that's
Yes.
elite
Yeah,
level.
okay.
But
nice.
I don't feel that everyone's like Long Island's best pizza. I don't feel that it's.
I
the
agree.
best.
We have the best
think
bagels.
it's the most.
Yeah, I agree
Like
with
it's
that.
automatic. Like you could go to any pizzeria on Long Island and have like a very good slice.
Right, yeah.
But
Well,
it's
that's
not
how
gonna like blow you away. Like I wouldn't like travel like.
Yeah.
Well, I lived
But
in
the-
Jersey for 10 years before I moved here, and like people be like, "Oh, the pizza's so good." I'm like, "Yeah, it is really good, but it's the same as like New Jersey has really
Right,
good pizza.
right.
Like
Yeah.
most pizzerias, you don't even have to know it. You can walk in, get a slice, and it's a really good slice.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
like,
really good. Any pizzeria you go to here is really good.
yeah. But I
But
do
I-
think the bagels are way better in
yeah.
Long Island than Jersey, and Jersey has good
Yeah,
bagels
I
too.
totally agree.
Well,
Yeah.
let me give an analogy to the people listening that are maybe they train jujitsu, but they're not from this area, so they don't really know what we're talking about. You know how everybody says like the difference between an elite black belt and a black belt is a bigger difference than the difference between a white belt and a black belt. Like somebody who's won ADCC or won
Yeah.
IBJJF World, that guy is he's more elite. He's the skill differential between him and like an average black belt is wider than between the average black belt and a white
Is
belt.
that true?
I think it is actually.
Really?
Yeah. But wait, let me make this analogy first. That's the difference between like a bagel or a slice of pizza from this area, right? That's the ADCC world champion, right?
Yes.
But the average guy who, like the average hobbyist jiu-jitsu guy, he gets fucked up by a local black belt
Right.
or he gets fucked up by, you know, Cobrinha. To him, it's the same thing. He
Right.
just got
Yeah.
fucked up,
Right,
right? Like
right,
he
right.
can't tell the difference, right?
Right.
Until now he becomes a black belt. Oh, and now he sees the difference, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing with bagels and pizza. If you're from here and you eat the bagels and pizza here, right? You go somewhere else, they're like, man, we got really good bagels here. You're like, this is so bad.
Right.
I
You
feel
know?
like that's how I feel about food in general with most people. Like,
Mm.
like most of my friends will be like, "Oh, this food's really good here." I'm like, kind of like, and I feel like I know you definitely are, at least with bagels and pizza. You're like on the same level as if you're a little bit of a food snob.
With
those
three things.
Just specific things.
What's
yeah.
the third?
Prata.
What is
It's
Prada?
Of course.
so
I love that you had to like say some like unknown bougie. It's probably like well known,
What is
but
that,
no,
Indian
it's not
food?
bougie at all.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
yeah.
It's Indian food.
It's like an Indian thing, or like it's just like
Prata.
that's why Zane laughed right away.
But prata is the Singaporean pronunciation of it. So like in like India they would call it paratha, or I don't know what do they call it in Pakistan? Say paratha. Okay,
What
yeah,
is it?
So it's just like crusty bread that you dip in sauce.
Naan?
It's way better than naan. It's fried, and it's like it sounds like this just like boring thing. It's just bread you dip and stuff. No, when you wake up in the morning and you get like one.
Do you like anything bread?
You're
based?
just
like
a bread.
bread.
You're just a bread snob.
Yeah, I do like bread. Yeah,
Yeah.
But prata is like, bro, it's so fucking good. You rip it and then you dip it in this sauce, and it just tastes fucking. And you eat it with your hands.
But you always eat like that?
Uh,
Like bread and.
yeah, I guess I eat a lot of bread.
What about
so.
like before you were like so outrageously jacked? Were you eating healthy then?
No,
Obviously you were working out a lot.
I was cutting like I don't think I understand. I need to like get with like a good nutritionist. Like
Hers is the best.
Yeah.
Shout out Tyler Minton.
okay,
Yeah.
so maybe I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
Like,
The best.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I like feel like all my weight cuts have been not great. Like, and it's not because I'm not an idiot. I'm not eating fucking bagels like the week before trials or something, right?
But why were you were so jacked? Did you eat healthy at all?
So like what happened was
Up your protein?
yeah, of course. Yeah. I try to take protein twice a day. So I only take plant protein. It's my favorite. I like pea protein the best.
Are you still vegan or not, or vegetarian?
I was a vegetarian for a while, and then I gave up on being a vegetarian when I was in Asia because like
Inconvenient.
there's a lot of good Asian food with meat,
Mhm.
right? So I gave up on it. But I'm thinking about doing it again. But anyway, so to go back to like my weight cut, I was overweight like the morning of, so I had to cut another 4 pounds that morning, which I fucked up. Like I need to get my nutrition down a lot better, right? So like I think there's a balance between like I will never not want like my favorite foods are, I mean like, you know, bagels, pizza, and prata. And like, so I made it. Do you remember my post? I don't know if you remember this. I made a post with, it was after the end of day one for West Coast trials. It was a picture of me with my shirt off at trials. And I said, the Degle diet,
yeah,
bagels,
yeah.
pizza,
Oh
prata.
yeah. I remember that. Yes.
And like, so like I have to be able to like balance that and then also being able to make weight better because like I wasn't eating that stuff the week of, just the weight was just not coming off. I was eating literally nothing but grilled chicken and like
Yeah, you gotta talk to a nutritionist.
Yeah.
because it's like
Yeah.
a science.
It's a
thing.
science
Like you're not.
and they
I
just-
don't. I mean, like you, what 66 kilos?
Yeah.
like a 66 kilo fighter. Do you know how big those guys
What's
are?
that in pounds?
It's like Brian Ortega, 145. You know how much bigger Brian Ortega is?
probably like
than you?
170
I'm
pounds.
like
But he's
bigger than you.
6 feet tall.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I feel like
And
I'm
like
bigger
or Max
than you.
Holloway.
What
Those are the jiu-jitsu guys are always like
We're terrible at cutting weight. We're not good
terrible.
at it. Yeah.
Terrible.
What I
Before trials, like I see everyone at the gym, and I was like, I want to make fun of all of you guys. They were like wearing plastics, training in jujitsu. I'm like, the trials isn't a week and a half.
you
Why
cut
are
way
you?
better than anyone
I was
I've
like,
ever
why
seen.
are you? I'm like, do you guys not have like Google or the internet? Why are you wearing plastics while you're training 8 days out? It doesn't make sense. You wear plastics when you stop drinking. You wear
Right.
plastics like hours before you go on the scale.
The
Because
day
if you
maybe,
wear it
right?
and they're like, oh, I lost 4 pounds. I'm like, yeah, but it's just water weight. Like,
You're gonna not
doesn't,
drink
if it makes
till
you feel
then?
better psychologically just to see your number drop, that's one thing. But I'm like, it's like you're 15 years behind on that.
Right.
Like when I see them wearing, and they're like, oh my God, I drank liquids today and I'm wearing plastics. I'm like, what? Like, you know, you could eat like 4
Her-
meals a
she
day of
cuts
real
weight,
food and
like-
lose weight and not have to wear plastic.
She cuts weight like amazing. Like,
But it's all
so
because
fun.
of
It's a
that
science
guy.
project.
Yeah, I gotta learn.
Yeah.
because it's
well,
literally like a science. Like you'll know, like on the Monday before weigh-ins, I'm gonna weigh this much.
Yeah.
like you know, like to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
automatic.
Right. So I probably wouldn't have made weight if it wasn't for Jason Rao because he gave me a sweatsuit and then I went to it. Like, I don't know if I would have sweated enough without this thing. And I went to, this is the morning of trials.
But that makes sense. You wear the plastics the last couple of years.
That wasn't my plan though.
Yeah.
So like maybe I should have done it like
Yeah.
that. I mean, maybe it worked out good, but like, yeah, Yeah, it was not it was better than I've had worse weight cuts, but
Mhm.
it still wasn't
When
like,
it's not
great.
expected, that kind of throws you off.
Yeah. But,
So I got another question, and it's the way it's phrased. I really like. I love would you rather's.
Mm.
I love them.
okay.
But this is: would you rather watch 1 hour of amateur MMA or 1 hour of BJJ black belt gi jiu-jitsu?
Oh, definitely black belt gi jiu-jitsu. That's not even
Like a 1 hour match.
I watch that all the
Oh,
time.
1 hour
No,
Yeah.
one
One-
match, not like 1 hour. A 1 hour match.
Like a sub only in a gi.
Watch
What?
1 hour of amateur MMA or 1 hour Brazilian jiu-jitsu matches.
Well, it's for me. It's no matter how you phrase it, it's still gonna be the gi jiu-jitsu. I watch gi jiu-jitsu. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
So
about you? I'd probably rather watch the black belt gi than amateur MMA.
It's
Well,
a-
the
it's-
amateur MMA would probably be more exciting.
I think that would be
Yeah.
more entertaining and like it'd be fun to like make fun of it type
No, but
of
there
way.
could be. I mean,
But
the best
this
people
black
start
belt, I'm
off
more-
as amateur, right? Like you had amateur fights.
Yeah, but my amateur fights were probably like
That's what I
Pretty
mean.
boring.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna change that. I'm gonna go amateur though, because you'd be like, oh wow, that guy's gonna be really good. You know?
I don't know. I think it depends what type of mood I'm in. If I'm like
I would fall asleep
smoking,
for
if
the
I like
gi.
smoke, I probably want to watch like the amateur MMA and just giggle.
Right,
And then if
yeah.
I'm
They might
like
be
if it's
good,
in the middle
though.
of the day between sessions, I might want to watch like the black belt and be like, oh, like see what they're doing or like appreciate the technique. I don't know. It depends if I'm in a zany mood or
I think the
training
amateur
mood.
MMA because I would be like, I like discovering new talent.
I don't think
it's probably just gonna be two guys like swinging at each other.
Most-
with balls.
Occasionally, I mean, everyone starts at
I'm-
amateur.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching amateur MMA, the chances of it being someone that, if you're just watching a random, especially if it's on Long Island, if you're watching like a random amateur MMA fight, the chances of them being like a good pro or
Could.
of course,
Like
but
Conor McGregor probably had amateur fights.
I'm sure
I don't know if John Jones probably did.
every fighter
Yeah,
did, but
not
like,
me.
do you know how many amateur shows? Like they're either, that's why they're always like, when the people that I fought in amateurs were like random girls that were like dating a guy in like a garage MMA gym and then was like, I'm gonna take a fight, and I was like, no, I've done the Golden Gloves and I've like done jujitsu, like I'm fucking you up, and I feel bad, but like you
Right.
have to do that.
You need the
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is the UFC doing Diaz dirty with the Chimaev fight?
Yeah,
Do you know about
100%. That is what the fuck is the point of that fight? Other than to build Chimaev's brand. I mean, that is a fucking retarded fight, right? So stupid.
I was kind of like, when they saw, I was like, like I like both of them, but that matchup, I'm just like, but.
I think Nate is just thinking, all I want to do is be done with my contract so I could fight Jake Paul. The worst thing that would happen with Nate isn't losing to Chimaev. The worst thing is if Jake Paul loses
Yes.
to Hasim Rahman.
But they could still do the Nate Diaz fight.
Yeah.
if Jake
Yes, I
Paul
think they
loses to a random boxer who's coming off a loss,
Nah, I don't.
to me, it
I don't-
really brings that fight way down.
I don't think it brings.
Yeah.
I think it
'Cause the
brings it down a
allure-
tiny bit, but I don't think it brings it down way back, because then that'd be like, well, he's a professional boxer, like him,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
like most people aren't watching the Jake Paul fight when he's fighting this guy. I don't even know the guy's
Right.
name. I'm
It's at
watching.
Madison Square
what-
Garden.
No, I understand, but like I'm saying from a real common fan, like when Jake Paul is fighting an MMA fighter, I'm like, ooh, he's fighting this. I want to see it. He's fighting this guy. I'm like, oh, he's fighting a boxer. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think it affects it.
yeah,
I do.
I'm sure it does, but
that's
people
what,
will
that's
still.
why, like, I do think they're doing Nate dirty, and I really like Nate, but I don't think he gives a fuck. He just wants to be done.
I wouldn't be
Let-
surprised if he thinks. I said, he goes, I don't think the fight's even gonna happen. I'm like, oh no, I think it's gonna happen. I think Nate Diaz is not even gonna try in the fight. I think he's just gonna be like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just like, all right, ding ding ding, touches gloves and just like goes and taps, because he could be like, oh, now I'm out of my
No, I'm out.
contract,
Right.
just to be like, fuck you to the UFC.
But I wish they would just be like, understand, like, they got a lot of mileage out of Nate, a lot of good fights, a lot of great things that he brought to the company. Just let him go out, let him fight Tony Ferguson, and then
They
they're
just
both
don't like
be
Jake
done
Paul.
with him.
I think he's like
I think
caught
they
in
wanna
them. It's
fuck
not that
Jake
they
Paul.
don't like Nate Diaz. I think that they just hate Jake Paul
Yes.
so much that they hope that Nate Diaz loses, so then it takes away
That's
from
what I
that
think
fight.
it is too.
But let me make an argument about why I don't think it matters if Jake Paul loses. If Conor McGregor came back tomorrow, right, and said, I want to fight, that would be the biggest pay-per-view
Yeah.
in the UFC right now. And
Yeah.
how many times has he lost, right? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
same
still-
with Nate Diaz. They
Yeah.
both, people are excited to see them no matter what.
Yeah.
But I sort of think with Jake, though, part of the allure is like, well, can a MMA guy beat him? But if he's never lost, then people, it's like.
Which is why if he loses to a boxer, it's
I
like
guess,
it doesn't matter.
Then it's just a weird thing that he's doing, which it is anyway.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's weird. I'm like, wait, I think it's weird that he's fighting. I'm like, oh, why is he fighting like a real boxer? I thought he just does.
Yeah, you thought it was just.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I know nothing.
I
about,
think he's gonna win anyway.
I know nothing about the guy.
The guy is coming off a loss.
Yeah, but
So,
I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, I know nothing about it either.
Neither do I.
I only knew the fight was happening was because I was in the city and I saw a billboard for
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, all right."
It's like August 6th. It's like next week.
Yeah.
We should go. I've been to a Jake Paul fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
The one in Tampa when he fought Tyrone Woodley.
Oh,
The
man.
second time.
It was
Jesus
wild.
Christ.
It was all like TikTok people and like the Island Boys were there. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're Island boys, actually.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Exactly.
Of course, he went with Jake Shields. I was like, I think it's funny that you and Jake Shields are at the Jake
Yeah,
Paul
that-
fight.
It's a farce.
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
The last question I got, I don't know why, if it was directed to you or just a general question.
Mm.
Are you familiar with what's going on with AJ Ferrari right now?
I don't even know who that is.
All right. He was a national champion for Oklahoma State. Fantastic wrestler, but he's just got kicked off the team there. And someone said, will AJ Ferrari win another NCAA title?
I'm gonna
And
say-
I think
yes. He's gonna do it.
the ability-wise, there's really not a lot of guys that could beat him. I think he would win 3 or 4 more, but I don't think he's going to get welcomed to very many teams after being kicked off. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I don't know until it's proven. But
Didn't he like shoot up a house or something?
no, I think he,
think
it's more like, sexual harassment.
Yeah, no schools,
But
colleges aren't
colleges
messing around
stay
with that.
away
Whether
from
he did
that.
it or not, even if he didn't, that's the accusation. I know
Yeah,
nothing
what
about
I
it.
am 100% for innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But with stuff like that and colleges, a high
Colleges
profile
don't-
athlete,
they
I
don't-
don't think they will
Maybe
be
not.
guilty until proven innocent
Yeah.
at best.
So maybe he'll just
Especially in today's.
I think he'll end up having to transition to MMA or
or Olympic wrestling.
or
maybe?
Olympic wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
But the universities it's tough to
they don't mess
have
around.
that
Schools
hanging
don't
over
like.
your head.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll switch to ADCC rules.
That'd be good.
Maybe.
No, I'm a fan, but I can't imagine another college wrestler beating him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's going to be welcomed in very many programs.
Yeah.
Kyle, did you know that Anthony Robles did West Coast trials?
When? Recently?
Yeah, the last North American
How'd
trials.
he do?
happened. He got heel hooked.
Really?
The one leg he has got heel hooked.
Wait,
think
a guy
that-
with one leg, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a D1 champion.
Oh, no. I mean,
Yeah,
Dude's a stud.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
He
Well, he
he's
got
so
leg
jacked.
locked.
That's kind of
Yeah,
weird that he
but-
got leg locked, though.
Yeah, well, he probably just doesn't know how to defend against.
Doesn't-
Well, and like isn't a lot of defense is like pushing it down with your other leg.
That's definitely gonna play a factor. But I think if you
But that is a big defense.
It's
It's
not
the only defense I
everything,
know, kind of like.
yeah, but if you're really good at hiding the heel and you use your hands, like he definitely could
he
have
could so
survived.
strong.
Yeah, and if there's no
Can't
other
do the, like double trouble.
exactly, if there's no other leg for them to grab, right? Then I think it would actually be easier to defend.
Yeah.
But he just probably I didn't see the match.
Does he train jiu-jitsu?
I guess
Must,
he must,
Mhm.
right?
or maybe just showed up, but
yeah, who knows? Maybe, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. Him, and then there was a really good female wrestler who did it.
Oh, the
too.
Vortex girl.
oh yeah, she did do it.
She
Yeah,
got
she
heel
got
hooked.
knee barred or something.
Or no, I think she got healed.
Yeah, I like her. She follows you.
Yeah, she's like
Yeah.
the small black girl.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Vicky Vortex. Or
Yeah,
Vicky,
I think she trains like jujitsu now. She just
I think
stopped.
she's trying to fight.
Yeah, she's like trying to do MMA. She just recently stopped competing in wrestling, and she did
I'm
it. And she's
surprised-
tiny. She's tiny. So that's kind of cool that she like jumped in and did that.
Yeah, I'm surprised more wrestlers don't try to jump into that after like Nikki Rod.
just ran through.
I think they
Yeah,
get
but
scared
like
of the
I
leg
really
locks.
think it has nothing to like Nikki Rod did good because of he's pretty good at jujitsu. He's good at jujitsu.
Mhm.
Like just like Kyle Snyder is 1,000 times better wrestler than Nikki Rod.
Mhm.
10,000 times better. But I don't think he probably would have taken second at ADCC.
You still need to know. So people,
I think he'd end up getting submitted.
yeah, probably.
I don't think the rest of the wrestling isn't really
Yeah.
what wins for these people.
But
like, why isn't Pat Downey is 10 times better than,
yeah.
and he couldn't win a match at the trials.
Well, because so think about like what we talked about earlier. That it's not just wrestling; it's wrestling in the context of this rule set.
Yeah, and
right?
he's great at it.
Yeah. So
he really is.
But he had like guidance from John of like how to like use his game in
Yeah.
the rule set.
yeah, I
You don't need a lot, especially now that he did it. Wrestlers could kind of follow what he
But
did.
they can't though. That's my point. Like, there's much better wrestlers than him that will not be able to do what he did.
Yeah, I'm not sure who coached him for that one. I don't
Mhm.
know if he was at Henzo's before that or not. But he like
But he trained with like good
Yeah,
with
yeah,
other
of course,
jujitsu.
for
Some
sure.
like is
Yeah,
Pat Downing
yeah.
really going with like
No,
training
yeah,
jujitsu,
you're
like
right,
real
right,
jujitsu?
right, right.
Maybe a random day.
Yeah, so if he maybe had the same and trained with Gordon and
Yeah,
then
I mean, you're
maybe a
training
good
with
wrestler.
good,
Yeah, you're right,
good
you're right.
jujitsu people.
Right.
Like even like the girl, like she's probably training with okay, but she was like training with like, at Henzo's, at B Team, like with a real like competitive people that are like preparing for ADCCs. Then maybe they would have more success.
right.
what questions did you get?
So well, we'll pull them up. So Zane, could you hand me my phone?
Answer a couple.
Right next to the Pop Tart.
Yeah, I'll think about that too.
He's got a Pop-Tart in his fanny pack.
That's another bread type thing. if you
Sort
Yeah.
look
of.
at it.
Wow, that's like barely even like that's
That's
more
not-
like just product chemicals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I guess
Pop-Tarts.
it's like bread with like sugar. and
It's not
shit
even
on it.
like bread. It's just all
Yeah.
chemicals.
Let's see.
Are you concerned with like you're not concerned with ingredients in any foods?
Not
No.
especially. I mean, if I found out it was bad, I would like not want to eat it. But
Mm.
like,
Pop-Tarts are bad.
they're bad. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna eat that one.
Yeah.
How bad?
Well, that's what I mean.
I don't-
Nothing's gonna kill you instantly. You can
It'll
eat,
definitely
like,
lower your testosterone over the years and cause cancer.
sure.
Oh,
But
shit.
besides that, you're fine.
Wait, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let's-
I feel like
forget
any
these
guy,
questions.
they're like, oh, I don't care about the ingredients. I'm like, all this stuff is like lowering your testosterone.
So what in the Pop-Tart is causing that?
Like there's probably
Seed oils.
and well, besides that, any like
refined sugars.
do you wear cologne?
no.
Okay, you're good.
No.
I kind of didn't think.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were like
I don't-
spraying
not
on.
that kinda guy.
Yeah. Don't use like
Cologne
fragrance.
lowers your test.
Okay. That lowers your test
Yeah.
too. Jesus.
Like insane.
everything. I can't find the questions, but I did get a few. I don't remember what they are, unfortunately.
All right, don't stress about it.
Yeah.
You
Just
got
don't
any-
eat Pop Tarts.
Oh, I got one. So, what must I do to become a cross Ashi Sith Lord? Buy my instructional.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Buy my instructional
That's
on
sound advice.
Where can they
Sa-
buy it?
sa-
link in bio. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll wrap it up. But yeah, so you're in the process of becoming an Italian citizen.
yeah.
That's the exciting news.
Yeah.
Well,
Let me
then
word
you
it
could wrestle for
for Italy.
Italy.
Yes.
Or no, compete for Italy.
Yeah, as a jiu-jitsu athlete.
And that's your plan.
That's my goal.
So the
Yeah.
next ADCCs.
I'm gonna do European
hopefully
trials. No, I will
represent-
definitely be able
you'll
to.
be-
Yeah. So just to talk about that briefly. So I'm actually not gaining Italian citizenship. I was born an Italian citizen, but I was never registered with the Italian government at birth. So I would be what is considered like this is like the term, an unrecognized Italian citizen. So I'm applying for recognition of citizenship. So I had citizenship by birthright so Italy's citizenship laws are different than the US's. In the US, if you're born in the US, you're automatically a US citizen. That's not how it works in Italy. In Italy, it has to do with descent, or you can naturalize, of course, right?
Right.
And so my grandfather was an Italian citizen. It passed down to my mother, passes down to me, right? So I just need to go through the process of having my citizenship recognized. And what that entails is I need to assemble certain documents, right? For instance, my birth certificate, my mother's birth certificate, etc. There's 9 documents in total that I've had to assemble.
Oh.
I have all 9 of them now. And then once I got the documents, I had to go through a process of legally certifying them. And that is like there's a ridiculous series of hurdles there in and of itself. It sounds like it should be a simple process. You order a document from the government, they send you the document. They sent it to you, so why can't they certify it when they send it? No, they send you the document, then you need to bring it back to them to
Oh
get
my
them to certify
God.
it.
That's annoying.
Yeah, and not just that, then you need to go back to them again to certify it for use in a foreign country. So there's 2 levels of certification. Now, all 9 of my documents are fully certified. The last thing I need to do is translate them into
Oh,
Italian.
perfect. So the next time we see you, you'll
I will
have
be
your citizenship.
yeah, I will be a fully recognized Italian citizen.
So when you have
Yeah.
that, if you have kids, could you pass it down to them or no?
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
another big reason I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
So when my kids are born, they will automatically be U.S. and then I'm gonna register them with the Italian government, so they'll be
Cool.
Italian citizens as well. So they'll have. I think that the way that works is they'll have U.S. and Italian birth certificates.
That's awesome.
That's so
Yeah.
good. Like I was telling, I touched on it downstairs, but I'll say it. I wrestled in a tournament in 2007 in Italy, and I won it. And the Italian national team coach said to me, and actually Steve Macco, you guys should wrestle for Italy. I could get you citizenship, and you wrestle for the United States or the Olympics for Italy. And I remember thinking, I was like, why would I do that? I'm going to be the Olympics for the United States, which was 10 times harder. And I never was. I definitely would have been for Italy. Then you're an Olympian, You might have a good chance to win if you're in the tournament, and anything could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're Olympian for the rest of your life, and you have dual citizenship. But I turned it down. Like, I was like outraged that he asked me. I was like,
Wow.
why would I do that? I'm American.
Yeah.
But I could have got it, and it
So
would have been like
easily.
amazing looking back. But now,
You
know,
blew it.
now
Yeah.
live through Robert.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I'm doing now. The
Yeah.
the
But
goal.
you could do what he does.
You could definitely still
And
get
then
it.
You could do what
compete
he's
for
doing.
ADCC's Italy.
Yeah.
European trials.
Yeah. Something to think
Let's
about.
do it, bro.
Something to think about.
Yeah, something to think about.
So think about all the. So how often? So do you know Elbrus Tadiev by any chance?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
watched his match the other day. He
So-
got Americana.
Yeah. No. Elbrus Tadiev was a freestyle wrestler.
Oh,
Is an
I
Olympic
thought you
freestyle
meant El
wrestler.
Bruce.
From
No,
Headless.
not Elbrus. Yeah, that's not okay. He's also.
There's
has the
not many,
same
we don't
name.
know many people named Al Bruce.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Two El Bruces.
No, it's yeah, that's funny. It's a
Okay.
same name, different person.
What's
Okay.
the name?
So Elbrus Tadiev, he was a freestyle wrestler, and he was from Chechnya, right? And there's a ton of
Oh yeah, they go all over.
yes, and he went to
Yeah.
Ukraine. He got
Mhm.
Ukrainian citizenship, right? How often do you hear about like Russian guys doing this?
Adultov from wrestled for Ukraine. He's from Chechnya too.
Okay, so there you go, right?
Mhm.
Similar thing. I'm doing that, right? But I'm getting Italian citizenship, and it's sort of I'm thinking of it as a similar kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, born and raised in the United States, but
Well, like you said, like Oliver Taza does that.
yeah, the Oliver Taza
Yeah,
method,
I mean,
right?
nothing wrong with it. It's
Yeah,
smart.
of course. Yeah, if you can get
if you
it,
get in the tournament, then you have a chance. You might win.
exactly.
But maybe you
Yeah.
can't beat an American just style wise. But then that guy loses to someone.
Yeah, North American trials are
It's deep.
it's a beast in and of itself, right? To
Mhm.
win that is like, dude, that's a real great feather in your cap. But my goal is, I have two big goals. I want to go to ADCC, and I want to do it representing Italy, right? I also think that I am also more interested in the idea of representing Italy than the United States, purely because, and maybe this makes me like a jiu-jitsu hipster, but like I'm a big fan of like ADCC history, and there's only been one person of Italian descent. One person to represent Italy that ever went to ADCC.
Mm.
It was Marcelo Azevedo in 2009.
Hmm.
Okay, he won the Stockholm trials in 2009 in the 77 kilogram category. So my goal is, let's say I won North American trials hypothetically, right? Okay, cool. You're just like another American, right?
Right. Yeah.
More legacy for that.
Exactly. There's more legacy. I win in Europe representing Italy.
Then you could open jiu-jitsu school in Italy.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I would be super down for that someday.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
learn Italian first.
I
But
saw in Sicily you could buy a house for $1.
Jesus.
€1, which is like
It's
$1.
the same thing as dollar. It
But
sounds
similar.
good.
Yeah.
Because there's like a town in Sicily that's like all
Well, if the
like,
houses are a dollar, I
closed
don't know
up.
if they have enough. Do they
We
have?
might as well buy like 100 of them.
Buy the whole
$100, and then like
See what
I
happens.
mean, see what happens.
It's probably in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, for
I would
sure it
guess.
is.
Yeah.
You're probably
yeah.
not
Still-
opening up a jujitsu gym there.
No, but it'd be cool to own like 10 houses in Sicily,
yeah.
even if it was in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
I gotta look
You can
into
make
that.
it cool.
Yeah.
You can look that up.
Pull it
That's
up on
true.
Zillow.
Yeah, there's a $1.
Cool.
We
Yeah.
probably need work.
Probably just a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably not like turnkey, as
No.
they say in the biz.
Mhm.
Turnkey, it means just turn the key.
Right.
Ready to
right.
go.
There's 100 homes.
In Sicily?
Oh my god. Kyle's gonna be
No,
up
in
all
Sicily,
night
there's
looking at
there's
this.
no. I know. I've looked into this for hours. You can
Oh.
buy. There's lots of houses. I forgot the name of the town, but for
Mhm.
€1,
Yeah.
you should do that. And then while you're training, you live in a house for one. You own it for $1.
Right. But I don't know if the trading there is going to be very good. Probably not, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Well, you could buy it for $1, then you Airbnb it.
I'll do that. Makes more
For
sense.
$2.
Even if you Airbnb it for like $1 a night, you're making 30 times your money if you rent it every night of the month,
Yeah.
right?
Just on the topic of
That's pretty good return.
yeah. But on the topic of
30x.
But on the topic of like being in Italy in general, like I definitely want to spend more time there. I've been to Italy before, and like I want to like, getting the citizenship to me there was the part of it that had to do with like ADCC and the benefits there, but it also had to do with the part of like my family, my ancestry, like
Yeah, that's great.
something, these sorts of things. And like I will like I'm going to be a voter. I'm going to be able to vote in Italy, right? So I've read a ton about Italian politics because I want to I want to make an informed decision. I don't want to be just voting for like random people.
Right.
I'll say this, then we'll wrap it up. So Italian politics. Do you know how old the country of Italy is?
So the Republic of Italy, I think, was 1860 is when it was formed.
The country of Italy.
Oh, 1948.
1947.
Oh, okay.
1947.
Yeah.
That is like the craziest thing ever. You think of it as like an ancient city, but started in 1860 until 1947, it was the Kingdom of Italy.
Right.
King Emmanuel
the Third. Victor Emmanuel the Third.
Victor Emmanuel the Third, and he was from 1860 until 1947 as a kingdom of Italy. So he was the king of Italy. So like my grandparents were born in the 1920s. They were in a feudal Italy.
Yeah, I think it was.
That seems like so insane to
well,
me.
it wasn't feudal.
Kingdom.
Yeah, but like the UK is a kingdom, right? It doesn't, the Netherlands is a kingdom. Sweden's a kingdom, right?
Thailand.
Thailand
That's
is
feudal.
an actual real kingdom.
Yeah.
There, you cannot disrespect the king. It's against the law.
Right.
But England, if you told,
But Italy wasn't like that then?
no, I don't think so.
But it became a country in 1947, so it's 200 years newer than the United States.
Yeah, well, the way that Italy thinks of itself nationally is that 1860 is the conclusion of the Risorgimento, which was the reunification of Italy.
Yeah.
And they view that as being like the beginning of the modern Italy. But then the Republic of Italy was, 1947. And then I thought 1948 because the first major election was 1948, which was like, it's interesting to look into. The first major election, 1948, was like, the U.S. like heavily like influenced it to like an
well,
absurd
it's right
degree.
after like Mussolini and the World War II, right?
Yeah, but they were more concerned with Italy is the only Western European country that has had a major communist party that was democratically effective. So this wasn't like a military communist party. This was communists who people wanted to vote for. And the U.S. was like, holy fuck, like we need to fund the other party.
But now we'd be all about the other way.
I don't think so.
We're communists.
No. Biden is very central. He's super central. If you look at like the gamut of like political extremism.
I feel like we need to wrap this up.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's central. I would say he's, not communist. He's socialist.
He's left leaning. He's definitely not a socialist. No way. He's more left leaning, but I wouldn't call him a socialist. Like, he's not like Che Guevara or like Fidel Castro.
I don't know. No, yeah, but Castro's communist.
Castro was like a full communist. Yeah, but like Biden is like
fascist.
Biden is like a milquetoast centrist. Biden is like the boring centrist, right? Like,
no, I wouldn't say that. I'm a centrist.
Well, but so he's maybe a little center left, but he's definitely not socialist, right? Like,
well, this is, I don't want to get into this, but I think like today's, what would be considered a Republican would have been a Democrat from the 90s. Like by policies, I would say Bill Clinton would be considered a Republican today.
In some ways.
No, I mean, he got rid of welfare.
Yeah.
In like 1996, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, you could only be on welfare for 3 years. That was a big bill of his.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Then, so Bill Clinton, I would say, would be like a today's Republican, right? So that if Republican was right, now Republican's off the board and Democrat is there. So now I don't think that elections are Republican Democrat. I think they're Democrat socialist. So if you're in the center, then I think you're in the center between socialism and Democrat.
I don't think so.
That's what I think.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, do you know this lady?
Mm-hmm.
She's fucking crazy. She's so far right.
Yeah, I don't know much about her. But.
She's talking about how the Republican Party needs to champion the idea of Christian nationalism.
Oh my
we should be like a Christian state.
We're still talking about like religion. Like, that's
that's ridiculous.
Like,
that gives
crazy.
right-leaning people like the worst name. Like people who are
Yeah.
anti-abortion or people who are like, you know, like things like that, like religious. But that puts then people from
the center.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
the Republicans look like so stupid.
But that is a big part of their party, right? Like they're.
Is it?
I do think so. I think the Midwest, because you have to understand, like we are on Long Island, right? This is like the Long Island Republicans are they're even more just like Democrats, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you go to the Midwest, so you'll say something like, so if you talk about like Christian nationalism on Long Island, people are like, what the fuck are you talking
Right.
about?
Yeah.
Right? You go to like, I'm not an expert like the Midwest, but like maybe
somewhere
like,
in the Midwest.
yeah, maybe Oklahoma, right? You say Christian nationalism.
Like Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt. They're like, yeah, sounds good to me. You know, like the good Lord said, you know, you know what I mean? Like you go out there, like when I drove down to B Team, when I drove down to Austin, right? That was the farthest I ever drove in my life. It was a 24-hour, maybe, yeah, I think it was about a 24-hour full drive, right? I drove through places that were like different than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of places like that.
I was at an Alabama rest stop with Confederate flags everywhere. This is a government-funded rest stop, and there were Confederate flags everywhere. You know, I drove I was at night at one point. I drove by a bar that had the neon lights. Them damn Yankees. This is also in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So
That's
crazy.
wild.
they're still mad about the Civil War, right?
That's
Like,
wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
so you always got to think like what you're saying is almost kind of true here, I think, right?
Mhm.
Where there's like, yeah, you do have people that are like the Overton, I think that's the name of the Overton window has moved to the left here, but I think there are lots of
Not
parts of the
everywhere.
country where it hasn't, and I think even
So you gotta take like
What
the
I'm
average
saying
of it.
though,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
I think
but
the-
here, don't you agree with what I said that the Republicans kind
Right.
of off the board now?
Yeah, so like I'm a registered Democrat, but I look at a lot of the things that they're like the Democrat, like the crazy identity politics stuff, like, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You know what I mean? Like I was in San Francisco recently, just on a I taught there, right? In the San Francisco airport, they had
Oh yeah.
men's, women's, and then in the center there was a gender neutral bathroom, which is like I don't know, like how many people need that?
Yeah,
Seems like a lot
yeah.
of taxpayer money for that, but like I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever, you know, it is what it is.
They
but-
get the same amount as like the wheelchairs. Like
Yeah.
you know, they get their own. The wheelchair people
yeah.
don't even get their own. They just get a bigger stall.
Yeah, this was a full bathroom.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
So they're like really left, right? But
So you gotta take like the average of it.
yeah. But you're right. There's regions of the country that it's not like that.
yeah,
But I'm thinking here,
right.
from my experience.
Here, I think you're. It's pretty accurate what you're saying.
Because
but-
I think most people are like they're fiscally conservative,
Mm.
but I don't know anyone who's like, no, there can't be gay marriage, and there must.
well, that's because you live
Anyone-
here.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
anyone. I know people who think like I do, like very fiscally conservative,
Yeah.
but like to say like abortion should be outlawed, like that sounds. No one I know says that,
But
but
if
it's
you
not a thing.
Right, but that's my point. Go to Alabama, and like most of them are gonna say that.
Or
right?
like gay
And that's
marriage
like
shouldn't
the-
exist if that's what people like.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone
Well,
who
so
would say that,
let me-
and I associate mostly with like Republican-minded people.
Yeah.
But I don't know anyone who would say
Mm-mm.
abortion should be illegal and gays shouldn't be allowed to marry.
Yeah.
No one that I know would say that.
But let me leave you. So I know we got to wrap up the podcast. Let me just end with this like horrifying fact. So I may get this couple of the details off, but generally what I'm saying is true. The last state to legalize on a state level interracial marriage was Alabama. Okay, it was already federally legal, but state all the states had not legalized it.
Yeah.
You could get married there because federally it
Mhm.
superseded the state, but still on the state law books it was still illegal.
Like the opposite of weed in this. Here.
What-
Like weed is still federally illegal. but
Right,
legal
right. Yeah,
in the state.
exactly. The opposite, right? But anyways, but Alabama was the last state where it was illegal to have an interracial marriage. They legalized it. I believe it was 2003.
That's-
No.
Yeah, I swear
I
to God,
think
you
I've
can look
heard
this up.
something like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And they did it with a
I didn't know it was Alabama. I knew there was like a state that like did it like that recently.
That can't be true.
I swear, look it up right now. I swear to God. And there was a referendum. There was a vote statewide. Should we overturn this law? 60% of the state voted to overturn the law. Now that sounds like a lot, but that means 40% of people in the state of Alabama in the year 2003.
Like if you said you wanted to marry like a dog, like I'd be
Okay, like,
by
yeah.
all means, marry a dog. I
Oh.
couldn't possibly care less. Or you're like, I want to marry this plant.
Well, so I think
Like, how can you care when
Yeah,
someone
like, who
else
cares?
marries?
Well, I think I don't know if I would want you to be able to legally marry a dog
Why?
because like isn't marriage like you're gonna have sex with the person you marry, right? So like,
But I don't
Not
care. I don't care if
necessarily.
what you have sex with either, as long as it's not a kid.
As long as
what if it's
And they want.
dog?
And
well,
they
dogs
want
can't
to.
really give consent either, so
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want
the
you to have
point.
sex with a dog.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have sex with if by marriage. That's not part of.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway,
I'm not saying let's say you don't have sex with a dog.
okay, fine.
should
If
be
you
allowed
could,
to
if
marry.
you're not gonna have sex with the dog and you just want to marry it, whatever. You're right. I don't
Just for like a companion.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a sexless marriage.
like Steve,
Yeah.
Steve Carell in Anchorman when he says "I love lamp."
Yeah.
If he wants to marry the lamp, like,
I
Yeah.
think that should be okay.
yeah. But I swear to God, like, hold on, Zane, look up right now the last state to legalize interracial marriage on a state level.
But here's the thing, like, so states like Alabama or whatever, the Midwest states that are like
those don't even count.
But listen,
Oh my God.
listen, but those that are like so extreme, or like, oh, gay marriage should be illegal. That's not what God wants you. That sounds so crazy. That's the same as like the people to me being like on the far like liberals that are the other way, like that. Those people
Yeah.
aren't like that. Isn't like that's the most extreme version of a Republican. Just like the crazy like liberals that you see on TV for screaming in the street are not most Democrats. That's just the
Yeah,
extreme
yeah.
version.
Yeah.
Just like Democrats think of like, oh, the people that everyone that stormed the Capitol is a Republican. It's like, no, those are like crazy people that
Yeah,
were
those are
bored and
crazy
had nothing
people.
else to do. Just like people that set fire to like buildings are crazy people.
Right,
Like those
that's-
aren't the
that's smart.
normal people, but that's all we see.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, there's crazy people on both sides.
Yeah.
for
Of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same amount.
I don't know about the same amount because I think that
I don't know enough to know which ones there's more. Because here I think there's more of the crazy liver, but we live in New York.
there are definitely more crazy like left leaning people.
Yeah.
I just think that if
And
you
they're
look-
just more outspoken too.
Yeah, I just think if you look at like voting patterns, like there's like I don't know, like somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the fact that she has any ability to get elected is like
That is crazy.
that's like
It's
scary
insane.
to me.
yeah.
like
I agree.
I just think she's like a complete lunatic, and
Yeah.
like anyone who would call for Christian nationalism in a country that's founded upon the idea of religious freedom as being central to like our entire national ethos is like, what the fuck are you going on about? But like. Yeah, but like I know there's
I've tried to push some Christian beliefs onto Zane.
well that's
I
not
want him
bad.
to start celebrating Christmas.
Yeah,
But because
yeah.
Christmas
Start
doesn't
for
have to be Christmas doesn't have to be a religious holiday. Like just celebrate
Right,
like
right.
Santa and the tree and
I
stuff. It's
I
kinda
love
fun,
Christmas.
right? You're
yeah,
Jewish.
Yeah. No, I'm Catholic.
Oh, I thought you were Jewish.
No. My dad has Jewish descent,
Ah,
but
okay.
I was raised Catholic.
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
love Christmas, but I'm not religious.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
a huge Christmas guy.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
want Zane to experience that fun.
I think Christmas is the best holiday. And
It
and
is.
yeah, so do you know Ashika Jim?
Yeah, of course.
So Ashik is his family's Muslim,
yeah,
and his favorite holiday is Christmas.
it should be.
Yeah, and I said to him, I was like, "Wait, you're Muslim? You guys celebrate Christmas?" He goes, "Yeah, we love Christmas."
Well,
So-
Christmas is like celebrate like the holiday of Christmas.
Yeah, it's just like a winter solstice. thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Winter
I love
Wonderland.
Christmas.
I think Christmas is very halal. So I was
Yeah.
saying like that's something to think about.
I love Christmas. I'm not
Yeah.
pushing any other Christian ideologies on Zane.
I think
Just that.
You're just pushing, Christmas on them.
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, you got to come over when we decorate the tree. You saw our
That's
tree.
special. Christmas party.
Yeah, we'll do Christmas
Ugly
party.
sweaters. All right,
Cookies.
let's wrap it up. Thanks for coming on, Robert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
Yeah,
so
that was
much.
great. All right,
Did you
thanks
look
for
it up?
listening.
Bye.